Baruch Hashem. We continue now the sugya of tefillah. It's been a while. What I want to do is I am not going to continue going through every single word in Hodu, simply because I want to move on to other things and other places as well. But I just want to finish off today with just a few pointers that I want to point out to the Olam about Hodu before we move on to Mizmar and Baruch Shama V'chola, that we've got a lot to do. So Hodu Hashem Ki Tov we find quite a few times in this gewaldige part of Sukkot Zimra. And Rav Victor Miller, in his beautiful sefer, discusses that there are two parts of Hodu Hashem. Number one is the idea of Hodah, and that is that the whole idea, and he quotes a pasuk in Tehillim, Tzadipei, Tov laHodas laHashem, it's good to give Hodah to the Rabbeinu Shalom. And number two, he says, is to have the realization is Hodu rak laHashem. And that's an idea as well, is to realize that when we're giving thank you to the Rabbeinu Shalom, because there is only one capital P person, there is only one Rabbeinu Shalom that we can give thanks to, because he's the one who created everything. He's the one where we get everything from. All the tovas come from him. And therefore, when we're saying Hodu Hashem Ki Tov Ki La'olam Chazda, which we say, we are pointing out specifically this idea. And we find this so many times. Just to quote to you a couple of times that I want to just point out. Ata Hashem, Rabbeinu Shalom, you never withhold, right, your mercy from me, and your kindness and your emestik should always protect me in that case, right? The chesed and the emes is something that we just had in the parasha, the parashas Vayechi, right, where Yaakov Avinu asks Yosef, chesed ve'emes, right? That's the real kindness of truth. Zechor rachamecha Hashem v'chasodecha kimei olam heima. Right? Remember your mercies, the Rabbeinu Shalom, and your kindness for there from the beginning of the world. We're saying, Rabbeinu Shalom, we recognize that everything in the world is attributed to you. And that's what we're saying as well. Tunu oiz lelohim. Right? All the oiz is the lotion of strength, of power. We're attributing that to the Rabbeinu Shalom as well. We see so many times throughout this gewaldige part of Pesukah Zimra Hodi that we see again and again this repetition of this recognition that the Rabbeinu Shalom created everything, and the chesed that Hashem does in the world is incredible. And if you go all the way to the end, you have two specific things that I want to point out, and then I want to give you a ha'ara from Rabbi Shimshon Pinkus. Ashrei ha'am shekachala ashram sh'Hashem elokav. Right? We have to realize that we become happier people when we recognize the chesed of Hashem. And that's something that we've spoken about before, and it's something that we have to continue speaking about. Because if we want to have happiness, right, Mishnah Pirkei Avos, that a person is rich when he is samech with what he has. Says over here, the end of Hodi, right, this part of Pesukah Zimra, happy are the people that happens to him all of these things, that the people whose God is Hashem. If you realize and attribute everything to the Rabbeinu Shalom. Everything we have, all the chesed, all the strength, all the world, everything inside that world that's contained in that world that comes from the Rabbeinu Shalom, we ultimately become happy people because we realize that it's all from Hashem. And then we end, Vani b'chazdecha b'tochte. Again, this idea of chesed again and again and again, that we had b'tochen and we have b'tochen in the chesed of Hashem. Yogil libi b'shuasecha. And again, this idea of shira, of singing, which is all the idea of Pesukah Zimra, to understand that we are constantly in a situation of singing our praises to Hashem. Pesukah Zimra is a constant, non-stop opportunity to sing the praises to the Rabbeinu Shalom. It's an amazing opportunity that we get. He wants to hear our praises. He wants to hear our recognition. And again, it's not because he needs it, it's because we need it. We ultimately, says the Chavis Halabovas, become different people on a higher level, an elevated person, when we completely subject ourselves and realize who gives us everything. Shimshon Pinkus, and we'll end with this, when he discusses the Tefillah of Hodi, he talks about the idea that we're living in a world with Goyim, and we're living in a world with so much spiritual tumah, so much spiritual pollution going on in the world, and the Goyim, whether they realize it or not, whether they want to or not, the Metzias is that they're trying to stop us, and they're trying to weaken our koyach, weaken our connection with the Rabbeinu Shalom. Says Rav Shimshon Pinkus, The mizmah of Hodu is masakin the klipas of these pollutions of this tumah. And he says, Yesh boy segula. There's a tremendous segula in order to patter ourselves, in order to exempt ourselves from this problem of the goyim wanting to rid us of all the kedusha and wanting us to get more into tumah, the school is to say Hodu. And he says that sometimes a person thinks, if I skip something in davening, what's the big deal? And the Rosh Pincus points out that Hodu is the first place that a person likes to skip. Because Ashrei is important, and Baruch Shama and Yishtabach, and even the Halalukos we know that are very important, especially number 1, number 3, and all the different orders, whatever the Shulchan Aruch brings us. But when it comes to Hodu, so no, I'll skip a big deal. Rav Shimshon Pincus says that this is a part of Tefillah that a person wants to skip the first thing, which, by the way, of course, there are halachas that if you're not going to get to Tefillah B'tzibur, or saying Shemona Esrei with the Tzibur, it could be there's halacha that you do need to skip. But that's not his point, right? Of course, if you're certain in a b'diavad situation, a person should skip. But he's saying that a person has like this idea, like, we'll skip Hodu. What's the big deal? It's the longest one. We'll skip it, and then we'll catch up that way. He says, Mamish, an amazing thing. He says, Chas v'sholem, if Klal Yisrael would not say the perek it calls it a perek nifla, an incredible, wondrous perek of Hodu, in the seder of the tefillah, they would miss this this light, and Chalila, he said, then the enemies of Klal Yisrael would be able to attack us and overpower us as well. And that's how important it is. Now, he doesn't explain exactly why that is so, but perhaps it's what we were saying until now. And that is when we recognize in our lives the chesed of Hashem. Hodu Hashem ki toiv ki la'olam chazdai. Hashem, you're full of chesed. Everything we have in our lives is from you. And we recognize that. Then all of a sudden our lives become elevated. We become more kodesh, more tahor, more appreciative of everything Hashem gave us, which means when we appreciate something, Hashem likes to continue giving it to us as well. And that's an amazing, amazing thing. B'ez Hashem, tomorrow we'll start with Mizmor Hashem.